thank you so much for joining me today, Blair. If you can first introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Blair Ingraham. I am an Associate Director of Admission at St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island.
Great. So could you first tell me a little bit about the location of St. George's and the surrounding environment?
Yeah. St. George's is located just outside of downtown Newport, Rhode Island, in a small suburban town called Middletown. The campus is situated on top of a beautiful hill that overlooks the Atlantic Ocean. We're about a 5-minute walk from the beach. We can see it from our windows. Newport itself is a very sort of typical New England harbor town. A lot of old buildings, a lot of shops, restaurants, the necessities, places to have fun with your friends. It's a really beautiful location, and we're lucky to be surrounded. Our campus is beautiful, but so is our location.
Yeah, I think St. George's has a very unique location compared to many other boarding schools in terms of being safe, not totally removed from society. You can still, as a student, get into town pretty easily. So I think
Yeah,
it's great for students to feel connected to
yeah.
society while still attending school.
I actually think that makes the community stronger. The fact
Yeah.
that we're not in the middle of nowhere and we can have a great community on campus, but also know that we can get off campus and have a meal downtown or pick up groceries, and then know that you always have a beautiful campus to come back to. I feel like that really adds to the boarding experience.
Definitely. So how else does the location, near a town and also potentially near the ocean impact the school and student experience while they're there?
So academically, we utilize our environment the best that we can. We have obviously a sort of a water focus here at St. George's. So academically, we offer classes like marine biology. We offer activities that are related to our environment that utilize the ocean and the beaches around us. From a humanities perspective, we really talk a lot about the history of Newport. There's a lot of great history here, typical New England history, about buildings and location and all of that. So academically, we try to focus in on the beautiful environment that we have. From a student life perspective, kind of like I said before, being able to get off campus and access a beautiful town really adds to the student experience. The independence and being able to get off campus with your friends, feel like you know that you're still at school, but you also feel like an adult as well. We also get involved with community service organizations around town, like the Martin Luther King Center, the Salvation Army, and different sort of athletic, academic related things in our town. So students really, really love the surrounding area. So we try to use it to our advantage as much as we can.
How would you describe the school community itself?
It's really small and tight knit. Our head of school, Alix Callan, she'll be entering her 4th year this year, and her actual sort of like theme and favorite word is community at St. George's, and we talk a lot about what that means. So it means that we're collaborating with each other, that we're supporting one another, that we're inclusive, that we're able to share our passions with each other, but also really get to know one another too. I think that's the beauty of being at a school with 370 students, is that you really get to know the people in your grade. You get to know the people in the grade above you and below you. You really get to know your teachers. The teachers really get to know you. So we really pride ourselves on having that tight-knit community. There's a lot of energy on campus. There's a lot of passion. Students really want to be here, and they're excited about the things that we offer and just about being in a small community with other kids their age.
Mm. What is a surprising or little known fact about St. George's?
We actually have a surfing activity in the afternoons, and when we tell people that in admissions, some people are really blown away. So in the fall, you can learn to surf. It's called Surfing in Leadership, and you walk right down to Second Beach, which is right in front of our campus, and you spend the afternoon in the water. And you can learn how to surf. If you're already a surfer, you can brush up on your skills and learn new techniques. But it's sort of a surfer's dream here to be able to attend classes all day and then surf in the afternoon. And also on that, a lot of kids like to surf in the morning before class, which is cool.
I didn't know there was a relationship between surfing and leadership. I like the name of that too.
Yeah, they can learn first aid and things like that. So there is
Okay.
a learning component. It's not just hanging out in the water and having a good time. Though on the days that the waves are really good, that's exactly what they do.
Nice. What is one of the favorite dining hall foods for students or for you?
Oh, the food here is really good. It's very fresh. There's a lot of different options. I'd say the kids really love Wednesdays and Saturdays because there's an omelet bar, and you can go up and order like your custom made omelet, and they love that. The line is usually long, so you have to time it out pretty well. The mac and cheese, delicious. They have a dessert called, actually, I don't know what they're called, but I call them 7-layer bars. So there's like coconut, caramel, Oreo, marshmallow, brownie, cookie, all together in one. Those go like crazy. But the food is really, really delicious.
Nice. What is your favorite annual school tradition?
My favorite is Middlesex weekend, which is the end of the fall. So it's usually in November. And it's a big weekend where all of our teams play Middlesex School, which is our biggest rival. So football, field hockey, cross country, soccer, everyone will play Middlesex. And it's either home or away. I like Middlesex home weekends, obviously. I think everyone does. But the Friday night before the big game day, we have a large pep rally and a fun dinner, and we eat this huge cake, and there's a whole tradition around it with bagpipes, and it's just a lot of great school spirit. But also the week leading up to that, the senior prefects choose sort of like Spirit Week dress, so everybody has you can dress differently every day, and it's a lot of fun because students love it because they don't have to be in dress code. And it really builds up to that Saturday where it's a beautiful fall day. Hopefully families are around, there's food out everywhere, and everyone's competing and gets to watch each other, which is really fun.
Nice. What is something new and exciting happening at St. George's?
I can talk a little bit more about this later, but our admission office just released a test optional policy. So we're really excited about that because I think, well, it's certainly a more inclusive and equitable policy for our applicants, but that's something that our office is particularly excited about right now.
That's good. What was a hot button issue on campus last year?
So before campus was shut down because of COVID, our students were really interested in climate change and environmental protection. So we had a senior prefect who was the head of the sustainability club. And basically since the day he arrived at St. George's, he's been making efforts to be a more sustainable campus. So when he had the chance to lead as a senior, he really went all out with it, and the students followed his lead. So students were really excited about leading a climate march towards downtown Newport last year. There was just a lot of sort of like a swell of emotion behind climate change. Then COVID came, and then obviously the events in May and June here in the US swelled a whole nother level of enthusiasm for the Black Lives Matter movement. And I've been really impressed with the students that they're all, remote right now. It's the summertime, but there's still a lot of communication among our St. George's community, teachers, faculty, students about these issues. And we have a lot of momentum heading into this next school year to make sure that we continue the conversations. And I think a lot of it's going to be student-led, which is awesome to see. There's many who are very enthusiastic about it.
That's great. So who are the teachers at St. George's, and what types of roles do they play in students' lives and success?
Every role.
There's no from personal experience.
Exactly. Teachers are everywhere. So your science teacher might also be your cross country coach. They might direct the play. They might be really interested in art, and you might see them in on art center duty so I think the teachers here are more than just teachers. They're really mentors, and they seek students out in different spaces, and students then seek them out in different spaces too. And even if your science teacher is not your dorm parent, but your dorm parent is a science teacher, they are more than happy to help you with your assignment or studying for your exam or helping you manage your time. So I think teachers is a no definition of what the adults here are due on our campus. I think it's amazing how approachable and accessible they are, and how willing they are to make sure students are successful and feel comfortable at St. George's.
What is a unique program or opportunity that St. George's offers?
You probably know the answer to this one.
I think I know what you're gonna say. Yes.
Yeah, Geronimo
It
is
is.
our school sailboat. It's a 70-foot sailboat. It literally sails all over the world, and it takes 8 students at a time on journeys that can last anywhere from 1 week during spring break to 5 weeks during a trimester in the fall or the spring. And the beauty of Geronimo is it's like a floating classroom. So if you choose to go on it during a trimester, you start by attending St. George's, you're on campus for a few weeks, you gather all your assignments, you meet your teachers and your classmates, then you join your crew, your Geronimo crew, you're on board for 5 to 6 weeks, sailing wherever the trip is taking you at that time. And not only are you keeping up with your schoolwork, but you're also learning to sail and navigate without a GPS on your iPhone. You don't have a phone with you, so you're managing your time differently. You're getting to know people in a tight-knit environment. So, I mean, the fact that students have this opportunity blows my mind every
Yes.
time I talk about it. And it sails everywhere. So it'll spend the summer. It's spending the summer up here right now. It's supposed to be in Europe, but the trip had to be canceled because of COVID. So hopefully this year we'll be able to keep it more domestic. But in future years, students have the opportunity to go to Bermuda and the Bahamas and Spain, Italy, Greece. It's been all over the place.
Yeah. How do you balance academic rigor with support?
I think the best answer to that is our small classes, our advisor system. We also require students to take, all new students, regardless of what grade you're in, to take a 6-week course called ACES, which meets once a week during your free period. And you have one instructor and about 8 to 10 kids in that class. And the goal of that class is to learn how to manage your time and learn how to use Canvas, which is our academic management system. I'm blanking on the word for it right now. And learn how to approach your teachers and email them and ask for something. That class is required for all students. You form a relationship with that teacher. After those 6 weeks, you're welcome to continue to meet with that teacher every week. So you can say, hey, you know what? I'm not good at managing my time, but I think that you can help me. Some students will say, nope, I'm all set, and then realize in the winter or the spring that they're having some trouble managing their time again. They can go back to that teacher. So I think it's a combination of small classes, accessible teachers, jumping into that ACES program early on. Also our structured study hall every night from 8 to 10 p.m. So every kid on campus from 8 to 10 is doing their homework and is studying and is not playing sports or going to class. Like, it is downtime for you to focus on your academics. And I think that really helps kids get in the mindset of, okay, I'm not missing out on anything right now. Here I am. I need to do this homework. And there's people around to help me.
So beyond the realm of academics, where do you think St. George's falls on the spectrum from collaborative to competitive when it comes to sports or extracurriculars, or even academics?
I'd say that our student body is very collaborative. I think we attract the type of student who is internally driven and motivated and wants to do well in whatever they do, whether that's academics or playing an instrument or singing or art or sports or many of the above, we attract the type of student who really wants to work hard to be successful in all of those areas, whatever that means to them. But I'd say as a school and as a student body as a whole, it's a very collaborative environment. Students aren't cutthroat with each other. Like if someone needs to borrow a textbook in the library or something, a student's not going to say, no, like I need to get the better grade on that test. They're much more like, okay, we need to sit down and work. Let's talk this out, group work, collaborate on it. And I'd say that sets the tone kind of like in the academic realm. It's very collaborative. And I'd say that the rest of the student activities are similar to that too. There's a lot of opportunities here for our students to jump into leadership roles and jump into group situations that they might not have done as a freshman or a sophomore. So overall, a very collaborative environment with individually driven students.
Great. So how do you support international students at St. George's?
In a few ways. One is every student, wherever they're coming from, is assigned an advisor, and that advisor communicates with that student and their family beginning over the summer. So all of that has sort of been done already from an advisor perspective here in late July. So that student has a person that they can go to on campus that they'll meet with weekly to check in with them, whether that's about academics or homesickness or family or social life. So that's for every student, particularly for international students. We also have an international student advisor who oversees all international students. Her job is, she's an American, but she lived abroad for a while and actually just came back and stepped into this role. So her whole job is to oversee the international student body. She does a lot of work up front when everyone arrives, mingling events, meet and greet type things, making sure that roommates are good, all of that stuff. And then throughout the year, we'll plan events, different cultural events, like Lunar New Year and things like that, with specific food and celebration that the entire student body is invited to, but, international students of that culture typically like to run it with her help. So there are certainly ways on campus that we do assist international students, and we have a fair amount on campus too. So if you are coming from abroad, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone.
Great. Do you have an example of a student who arrived at St. George's and over the course of their time demonstrated exceptional growth and impact in the school community? You did mention the one student with the climate change initiative.
Yeah, I know. When I saw this question, I was having trouble thinking of one particular instance. I'm sure there have been many. I've only been here for 2 years, so I haven't seen a transformation like from freshman to senior
Start
year
to finish.
quite yet. But I will say that I do advise. I have 5 advisees myself, and the transformation that I saw in just 1 year from the 3 freshmen that I advise, or what we call them third formers, has been incredible. I had one in particular who was very nervous, struggled a little bit socially at first, found her groove, was a superstar athlete during the winter. And then come springtime, of course, this was a weird spring, so we didn't get to interact like we normally would. But I just spoke with her the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you are a completely different person from when I spoke to you a year ago right now. And you were so hesitant to meet other people. Like she was very, very nervous about meeting other people. So even the 2/3 of the year that she spent on campus was huge for her. So I struggle with like a huge example like that. But there's plenty of leadership roles and opportunities for kids to get involved in, no matter what grade you're in. It starts immediately freshman year. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
the goal for us as a school is to make sure students feel comfortable jumping into those leadership roles wherever they are, and then grow from there.
Mhm. What are the qualities that make for an attractive candidate who will be a good fit at St. George's?
First and foremost is academically strong and interested in
Mhm.
growing in this area. So that does not mean you have to have straight A's or even straight B's sometimes. We care a lot about what kind of classes you're challenging yourself with. You're not like floating through whatever grade you're in at that time. We like to see that you're challenging yourself. We like to see
Mhm.
consistency across subjects and across grades. So, if your seventh grade grades are way down here and your eighth grade grades are way up here, we're going to question that a little bit, but also love to see the growth. So it's not the end of the world, but just people who are academically inclined and really want to be challenged. Also, an ability to contribute to our small community. Like I was saying before, we are in a small community, so we really love to see our students thrive and shine in different areas. So whether that's on the saxophone, maybe in an a cappella group, or maybe you're a genius, I don't know, hydroponic scientist or something. Like we have a hydroponics club here. If you're an amazing hockey player, like those are the kind of things that we like to see. But you can be totally mediocre with a willing attitude and a positive attitude, and we want to see that shine through as well.
Mhm.
And then also leadership potential, like how willing are you to just jump into something that may scare you a little bit or that you've never
Mhm.
done, but you're just willing to try it. Those are the kind of people we want in our community, who are dynamic and excited and passionate and willing to just jump right in.
Mhm. Great. So when you're reviewing applications, what types of information or indicators are you looking at specifically in order to tell these types of qualities that you just talked about, if they're going to be academically inclined, if they are going to make an impact at St. George's, if they have this type of leadership potential?
We really appreciate teacher recommendations. We look at teacher recommendations very closely. Of course, there are a lot of important parts of the application, but the teacher recommendations they're coming from people who really know students and who get to interact with you daily or weekly, however your schedule is set up. So we rely on those teachers to really give us a good sense of who a student is academically, who they are outside of the classroom, what personal qualities they have. So those are big for us. And then, like I said earlier, a consistent report card showing, a rise in challenge, or, consistent challenge, or like a love for one or two specific areas. Like maybe you love English, so you're taking all of your classes at a higher level. Maybe you love history. Those are the kind of things that we like to know as well.
Mhm. And you did allude to this before about the new test optional policy that you guys are implementing this year, and certainly we're seeing across the board, more due to COVID than anything else, that there's policy changes with testing. But it sounds like this is, a longer term policy change. So maybe you can talk about that and what role it has played in the application process, and then how you're seeing it going forward. And also as it relates to international students, since we work with a lot of students in Asia, and there's a big focus on testing.
Mhm.
So what recommendations do you have for those types of students too?
Sure. So our test optional policy was released officially in May. It's actually something that our office and our school has been working on for 3 years now. And we spent the last 2 years sort of doing like a pilot research program where
Mm.
we accepted students who fell below a specific threshold on the SSAT, a pretty low threshold. We accepted them and we monitored their academic progress, their community progress, like discipline, all of that, sort of across the board. And we found that a low tester was really no different from a mediocre or a high tester in terms of their ability to perform in the classroom and their ability to contribute to our community. So what we did from there is convinced other people on campus that this was the right move to make. It, you know what, COVID really sped it along for us, but it wasn't the determining factor. It's been something that we've been thinking about for a while, and it's here to stay. This isn't like a 1-year pilot program because of COVID. So we're really, really excited about that. So from a student perspective, we don't need to see your test scores. If you perform really, really well and you feel like it sort of it corresponds well with your transcript or your report card, and you're really proud of your scores, please feel free to send them to us. But we will not look at your application differently if you send them or don't send them. What's more important to us is your interview, your teacher recommendations, your essay writing. We will look at your essays a little bit more closely if you don't submit your test scores, because part of the SSAT that we look at is the writing sample. So we do want to make sure that you can write and be able to do that in our classroom. So we will look at that. But other than that, the SSAT is really not something that we emphasize at all. However, as an international student, we do require that students take either the TOEFL or Duolingo, something along those lines, because we do not have an English learning program here. So we need to make sure that international students who English is a second language for are able to keep up in our classrooms early on to set them up for success.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so in terms of interviews, you mentioned that is a significant way that you assess students' fit. What role does it play in the application and evaluation process? And do you have certain questions you like to ask of students?
I'd say the interview plays an important role for both us and for the student. I see it as a conversation. It's a two-way street where we want to get to know the student just as much as the student should be getting to know St. George's and our community as well. In the interview, I just like to see that students can converse and they're able to answer questions. They're able to convey information about themselves and speak of themselves in a confident, highly, like a well-mannered way, I guess I could say. I like to hear about what they like to study and what they like to participate in, what they've been reading, what they've been doing after school. I love to hear like their study routine, just to get a sense of, where does academics fall on your priority list? Where do extracurriculars fall? There's no right or wrong answer in any interview, but the best thing that we say to kids is to just be yourself. There isn't a trick question. There is not one specific question that we ask every student just to see what they say. It's more about conversing, and sure, there are certain things that we like to ask about their daily lives. But the best interviews are ones that sort of spin off into side conversations, because it really shows maturity and willingness to engage, and, things that we can't see on paper necessarily. I think that's the biggest thing for the interview, is to share with us what you wouldn't be able to share on paper, which is your personality sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Great. So what advice would you have for families and students who are embarking on the boarding school application process?
Research as much as you can. Do not be afraid to reach out to admission offices and ask questions, to talk to students or ask to talk to students, to look online and on social media about the school community. Most importantly, I think normally I would say visit campuses. This is not a time to be visiting. So the research component and the question component is that much more important. Lean on the people that know how to help you. Ask admission officers very specific questions that can help you with the decision process throughout. And then most importantly in the application, just be yourself, whether that's in the interview or in your writing, on your transcript. Like, we just want to see the true you come out. We don't want to see parents writing and parents emailing and parents calling.
Yes.
We like to hear from the student themselves via all forms of communication and all of that. So, but really be yourself and enjoy it, and know that you're evaluating schools as much as they're evaluating you. And that's really important to help you find the right fit.
Great. Very good advice. Well, thank you so much, Blair.
You're welcome.
This was very helpful, and excited to share St. George's with our families.
Yes, please check out our website and reach out to us with any questions that you have.